Hi guys, thank you for joining the webinar today. My name is Brian Hughes and I am a financial advisor at River City Wealth Management.
My name is Michelle Barron. I am also an advisor with River City Wealth Management.
We want to welcome you all to the webinar today. Our goal in doing these is to help build better investors in our community by helping you think through situations and giving you the information you need to make better decisions. We aim to do that today by sharing with you our insights about company buyouts from things that we have researched and learned during the 35 plus years of combined experience between the two of us.
Hopefully, this is the point where our listeners are saying, hey, they don't look old enough to have 35 years of combined experience.
I don't know, I got these gray hairs to prove that we do. Anyway, we want today's webinar to be very engaging for you, but we all know that financial topics can get pretty dry. COVID-19 has us trying new ways for us to try to educate people. And right up front, I'll tell you, this is our very first webinar. We would very much appreciate any positive or negative feedback so we can make these even better in the future, even if it's you telling us this webinar was awful, but here's how to get better. You could contact us and find our information at rivercitywealth.com or connect with us, Brian Hughes and Michelle Barron, right on LinkedIn.
Again, welcome to our webinar. If you're joining us today, you're either Debbie from ASN Compliance, or you're in a situation where you're being offered a company buyout. We are seeing a lot of companies offer buyouts to employees. TIAA Bank here locally, GE, Boeing, and I'm sure a whole bunch that we haven't even heard about. It's a tough time right now for everyone with COVID-19 and the economic repression. Companies have been put in a difficult position across the United States. In response, we're seeing layoffs, furloughs, and if you're in that situation and you're lucky, maybe you're being offered a buyout. So let's start with, what's a buyout? A buyout is when a company offers you some sort of incentive, usually money, sometimes other things, in order for you to voluntarily leave your position. Voluntary, that's a key word. Since it is voluntary, you have a choice, and this is a big one. Your decision can have deep personal financial impacts. So it is important that you go through a bit of a self-evaluation and carefully consider your options before making any decisions. Now we're going to go through a few questions that we think you need to think about as you consider your options and make that important decision. Hopefully, an obvious first question is, what exactly is the offer? It's important to point out here that there's no boilerplate template for company buyout offers. Each company buyout offer can vary, and some offers are different within the same company based on different departments or different levels on the career ladder, or even so specific that they're tailored to individuals. So you really need to do your homework and read through the paperwork. As you read, you're going to be looking for different things. First off, money matters. And this is one question that everyone wants to talk about. I think it's pretty obvious. The more money offered, the better the deal, and the more enticing it's going to be. Companies offer buyout compensation based upon many different factors. These could be years of service, a set amount of weekly pay, maybe an allowance for unused vacation or sick days, and it might even include your last year's bonus, like TIA's recent offer does. Bottom line, however it gets structured, the more money you will receive, the more attractive the deal is going to look. And money's the only thing that matters, right, Brian?
And not exactly. So like Michelle said, though, the easy part to think about and understand is the money. And I think sometimes what gets lost and buried behind the money is what happens with the other benefits you have with the company. As we all know, health insurance is ridiculously expensive nowadays. Most companies that offer health insurance pay a portion of the premium as a benefit to employees to make it more affordable for their workers. There's a couple ways this can go on a buyout offer. For one, you may continue to pay a portion of the premium, helping your company may continue to pay a portion of the premium, helping to keep those costs lower. This is ideal, and this is what you want. They might also offer you COBRA for 18 months. This to me is like a red herring. Sounds good. You get to keep your health insurance, but you are also now the proud owner of the entire cost of the insurance and may actually be required to pay an extra 2% on top of that cost to cover for administration fees. It's often sticker shock to see how much that plan you have really costs. So here's what to do if your company is not continuing to provide health insurance. You get the cost estimates for COBRA. You go get quotes for insurance on your own because you can often find a plan that suits your needs for much cheaper than staying with COBRA. You can talk to an agent. There's a lot of great agents in our area if you want that personal touch. You can visit healthcare.gov or even go directly to an insurance company's website. I like going to Florida Blue's site to get a general quote because it does not require me to put in a lot of personal information before giving me plan details and prices. You also, depending on your income, might qualify for a healthcare subsidy. And so before I mentioned the sticker shock, because healthcare is really, really expensive. And I think folks who are with a large company and not experiencing the full cost of healthcare are surprised oftentimes. To use myself as a guinea pig, I'm 37 years old, married, and I have an 11-year-old son. The cheapest plan available to my family is $850 a month and is what I would consider a disaster-like plan. It literally doesn't cover a thing until we would meet the entire deductible of $8,150 individually or $16,300 for a family. So obviously the price goes way up from there for better insurance plans. It's expensive, and how you will handle these costs needs to be a big part of your decision. Also, if you're not vested in your 401k or pension, you need to figure out how the company is handling vesting. They may make you 100% vested as a perk to take the buyout, but if they don't, you will be leaving some retirement money on the table. Other benefits like tuition assistance or childcare assistance come into play. So again, while the money aspect of the buyout captures everyone's attention, oftentimes you receive a lot more important benefits from a company than just money. And it's important to consider how those benefits are impacted by taking the buyout.
So far we've covered the goodies of buyout offers, but I don't have to tell you, nothing's free in life. You also should not be surprised that when a company offers you a buyout, they want something in return. Obviously, if you take the buyout offer, you are no longer working for that company. You are also going to probably have to sign something promising that you will not sue them. Even though my brother's an attorney, I don't like attorneys and our sue happy society, but hopefully that's not a big deal to you. For some, it may be. Just keep that in mind. You might also have to sign a non-compete, and depending upon the terms and how restrictive that non-compete is, that could definitely be a deal breaker, especially if you're still going to have to work after the buyout. Now, we are under a very unusual time period, so consider this. Right now, companies are letting folks go because of where the economy is, but depending upon when and how quickly things bounce back, companies may want to rehire its workers. A lot of buyout offers will contain rehire clauses, and what that means is if you decide to go back, you may have to give some or all of the benefit back. Now, we talked about the deal in itself. Brian, I think it's time we switch gears. What else should our listeners think about?
Okay, so it's time to make this more about you. You have to think about yourself and your situation, starting with where you're at in your career. Now, we work with a lot of folks who are just about to retire. Like they could see the light at the end of the tunnel. They wake up every morning and pull up that retirement countdown clock to see how many more days are left. They're no longer bringing in new pictures of their family. They're slowly sneaking their old ones away from their office desk. These folks are going to go home and open the champagne when they receive a buyout offer. It could just be the extra money you needed to get from working to destination retirement. And if this is you, congratulations, you've made it. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum is young folks, who I also do not think a buyout offer in normal times puts in a tough spot. Us damn millennials are notorious for job hopping anyway. I read a recent survey from Career Builder that they surveyed employers where they thought that less than half of college grads would stay with their company for 2 years, and that by the time a young employee is 35, they will have worked 5 jobs. So I take that as younger people haven't settled into their careers yet, that they probably have their eyes open for the next position anyway, and a buyout offer can be a springboard to help bridge the gap between one job and the next. Unemployment right now is really high due to coronavirus, but in normal times, or if things head back to normal, this could certainly be the case going forward.
Brian, you are right. For a number of younger people, finding a new job might not be difficult. It's those people that are a little bit older, but not yet ready to retire, that I think they're in a tougher spot. That's the elephant in the room. It is really harder for older people to get jobs. There have been studies to actually prove it. For example, a couple of years ago, the San Francisco Federal Reserve sent out more than 40,000 fictitious applications, and basically they're identical except for the age factors. And by far, the callback rates were, you guessed it, better for younger applicants than the older ones. Ignoring the incredible waste of time that companies receiving fake applications have, that study actually puts into perspective what I hear from a lot of older clients, and that is it is harder to find a job when you're older. Regardless of whether you are younger or older, the risk of being out of work for an extended period of time is real. And knowing how and understanding how you will support yourself during that time period is important. How much do you have in savings? How much do you spend? Do you have a spouse working that can cover the expenses? How many months can you make it without getting into financial trouble? When you're making this decision, you really need to think about where you are, where you're at in your career, and what your financial picture looks like.
So while the clear risks are, hey, if I don't have a job, how am I going to support myself and my family until I find the next one? There is actually a risk we believe you should think about related to choosing not to take a buyout. Maritime tradition dictates that the captain goes down with the ship. I'm going to take a not so wild guess that if you are on this webinar and you have been offered a buyout, you are not the captain. I'm not going to name names here, but there's a few companies in our area that I do consider to be sinking ships. There's definitely a risk in passing by a buyout offer to stay on a sinking ship. Companies make these offers to reduce their headcount. They may want to do that for a variety of reasons, but one of those reasons might be that the company is having financial difficulty. Depending on how your company is doing, and what their headcount goals are, there is a real risk that even if you do not take the buyout offer, you could be subject to future buyouts or layoffs, and you don't know if those deals will look as good or even if you will be offered a deal later to leave. So passing up a buyout offer now to only be forced into a worse deal in the future is obviously not a good situation.
But we can't just look at one side. On the other side of the coin, a lot of people stagnate in their jobs at companies where they feel there's nowhere to go. Maybe all the positions above them are filled. I think most of us have felt like we were stuck in that place at one point or time or another. I know I have. But in this situation, there might actually be some opportunity. If you stick around, some of those higher up positions just might open up. I think it's tough to really know the risks and opportunities of staying with the company. You don't know who is going to put in for the buyout offer. You don't know, even of those who put in, who will actually be accepted. What I would suggest is that you spend time with the higher ups, your managers, anyone you can talk to. Try to gauge how the company is doing. And it's not just the company. You also need to gauge your prospects at the company going forward. Both will be essential as you still try to decide if taking the buyout is right for you.
Like many things, there's no real one size fits all answer on the question, should you take a company buyout? Everyone individually has their own unique career goals and financial situation. And while water cooler talk and groupthink perhaps provide a sense of security, the decision needs to be your own based on your own circumstances. Consider the deal, how much they'll pay you, what the benefits are offered, what's lost, what is required of you. Consider your personal situation, where you're at in your career, what do your finances look like, how long can you afford to be without a job, then confidently make your decision and don't look back.
I think that's a good piece of advice, Brian. You shouldn't look back. Thank you for joining us. We've enjoyed putting this webinar together and hope that our guidance and direction helps you think through your decisions of taking your company's buyout offer. Like we mentioned before, this is our very first webinar. We would greatly appreciate your feedback, both positive and negative. Help us help you. If you have any topic ideas for things that you would like us to cover in the future, please let us know. To get in contact with us or to learn more about our company, you can visit our website at rivercitywealth.com. You can also give us a call to schedule a no obligation complimentary consultation. We are happy to review with you your personal situation, talk with you about the services that we can provide, and if nothing else, point you in the right direction. Enjoy the rest of your day, and again, thanks for joining.